Hello, this is Conscious TV and I'm Iain McNay. And today we're going to look at the subjects of yoga and meditation, but yoga and meditation as practiced in prisons by prisoners and also prison warders. So it's an unusual subject. I remember about 10 years or so ago, I read this article in the Sunday Times, and it was about an organisation called the Prison Phoenix Trust. And it was about a woman called Sister Elaine, who was a Catholic nun and also a Zen meditator. And I thought, what a fascinating combination. And this somehow drew me to find out more about the organisation. And basically what they do is they train up people to go into prisons and teach prisoners and prison warders meditation and yoga. And then a few weeks later, after I'd read the article, I was invited to an evening at Grendon Prison near Aylesbury, which was partly organised by the prisoners. They supplied some food, and we had an evening with a band playing from prisoners, and also Jeremy Irons reading some poems with his wife that he'd written, and it was a wonderful evening. I really enjoyed it. I felt quite touched by the evening. And there I met Sandy Chubb, who's the director of the Prison Phoenix Trust, and she's with me in the studio today. And we're going to talk about, obviously, the trust and the work that the trust does, but also about her and her life and the different markers in her life that has engineered changes in her life. So, welcome, Sandy.
Hello.
Thank you for coming along.
Thank you for inviting me.
And let's start at the beginning for you, where you first felt a need, if you like, to start getting involved for yourself with yoga and meditation.
Well, I think really it was a chance rather than a need, because I was 20, I was in London, the world was opening up for me, and I wandered into a meeting in a hall in Westminster where an elderly Indian gentleman was talking about yoga, saying, you know, yoga isn't common sense, it's good sense. And that was a phrase that I really liked. And so the next week I enrolled in a yoga class. Eventually I think I was doing 2 or 3 yoga classes a week, doing them in the lunch hour. It's a very nourishing thing to do when you're working in a big city. And I had some really wonderful teachers, famous teachers. I didn't know at the time they were famous, but my body was extremely pliable. And it was a wonderful opportunity to embark on a practice which not only helped me feel so well and so light, but somehow or other enabled me to find something within myself which was just like coming home. And then in my 30s, because of a few things that had happened in my life, some people had died, although I had been doing meditation as part of the yoga classes that I was going to, I wanted to develop it a little more. And I met a Japanese Zen master, and I began to sit in Zen.
So when you say sit in Zen, what does that mean exactly?
Well, sit in Zazen. Za means to sit, and Zen means meditation. And so sitting in Zen means to sit in meditation and to just be absorbed in the breath as it comes in and goes out, and to allow the mind to silence.
But that sounds a wonderful theory, but I think for a lot of people, they're happy to sit down, but then their mind is very, very active. So when you say allow the mind to silence, that sounds to me something that takes a lot of work and a lot of time. Was that the case for you, or was it something more natural that came more easily?
Yeah. I mean, there was really, the very first time I went to a Zen class, I felt completely at home. It was just like going home, if you like. And the more I meet prisoners who sit in silence, the more I realise that I'm no different from anybody else. That there is this silence that we all carry within us. It's universal, it's eternal, and it's ancient. And we can all tap into it at any time. Of course, you don't sit down on your cushion or on your chair and immediately silence the mind. How can we do that? Because we're programmed to think. We're programmed to sit down and to put our clothes on in the morning, to eat, to work, to be happy, to be angry, to be all of those things that a human being is. But there is something about just sitting and concentrating on the breath as it goes in and goes out. Just keeping that focus going. And then in, out. Oh, I'm thinking. Oh, I'm planning a shopping list. Oh, my mind is chattering again. Oh, okay, back to the breath. And gradually, over a period of time, you find that the wheels of the mind start to quieten down, and you can reach a deeper level.
And how did that actually help you in your life at the time? Because you're actually well ahead of your time, because you're going back 30, 40 years here, when yoga and meditation weren't so well publicised and well practiced as they are now. You kind of must have been a bit out of a limb there.
Well, I think it helped me, because when I was 10, my father died, and he died when we were on holiday on the south coast. He died when he was coming out of the sea, actually. And that had a very big effect on me.
And you were actually there when he died?
I was there, yes.
That's an incredible shock.
It was a shock, and it was a shock too, because he had dreamt the previous night that he was going to drown.
Really?
Yes, it was very unusual, and the result of that early death was that it was a little unexpected. People who have lost parents early in life may recognise what I'm going to say, which is, in many ways, of course at the time it's very shocking, and there is a sense of loss which, even today, I suppose, in one curious sense of my heart, I'm always waiting for it to be a mistake and for him to walk through the door.
It's a funny thing, isn't it, when someone goes? It's very difficult, you know,
absolutely.
But it's very difficult to really absorb it.
Of course you know, of course you know, but of course they're deep in your DNA.
Yeah.
But because of it, I think my mother had a nervous breakdown really for 4 years, although my brother and myself didn't recognise that, and that gave us enormous independence and freedom. We were allowed to do things, to grow up very quickly, which we hadn't anticipated. So we were doing the decorating in the house, fixing the electrics, fixing the plumbing, things that a child of 10 these days doesn't have the chance to do. Of course, they might have done in the old days, but we were very lucky to have that sense of independence. And of course, as you know, with responsibility comes confidence, more self-confidence. So I often feel what a debt of gratitude I owe my father for giving me that freedom when I was younger. And then when I was 30, 3 close friends died. One of them killed herself. And I think this problem of death, what is death, what is birth, what is life, has really started to nag away at me, and that question was digging. And the opportunity to sit in silent meditation, in a Zen practice, gave me an opportunity to dig into that question.
So if you sit, you're in Zen, you're sitting there and you've got your eyes closed?
Yes. No, well, we don't have our eyes closed in the group that I sit in, no.
Okay. And you're thinking about what is death. What can you just give us some inside look at what the process is, what actually goes on? What does it mean, looking at the process of death?
Yes. What a good question. I wish I could answer it. Of course, when you're sitting, you're not thinking of anything. You're simply being the breath as it comes in, and just climbing onto that vehicle of silence as it goes out. And it's really taking you deep down into nothing. Nothing at all.
So you're just going beyond the mind.
Questions may still be in the back of the mind, because there are many layers to the mind. They may still go on. In a Zen practice that I sit with, for instance, there is something called koan study, where people can learn to answer a question intuitively. The mind, the intellect can't answer it. Only the intuition can.
This is where they have a question which is
absolutely.
Like,
what is the
I've
sound?
done this, a kind of almost a nonsense question.
A nonsense
and then you
question.
get a flashed realisation,
Exactly.
which has nothing to do with logic.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think that actually is a realisation that you don't have to sit in Zen meditation.